Well, unfortunately, we're back into a lockdown of sorts, and for many of you that means that your youth group gatherings are back online, and more specifically back on Zoom. That can be a big challenge. Many of us are fed up with Zoom after using it for what feels like months and months and months. And so in this video, I want to just provide you with 5 creative games that you can play with your youth group that doesn't include a table quiz. Okay, so some of these games will work really well for your group, some of them perhaps won't work so well for your group. Really depends on the makeup of your group and the size of it. Some of these games lend themselves better to larger groups, some of them to smaller groups. So hopefully you'll be able to find a couple of games in this list that works well for you and your context. But let's dive straight in. Game number 1 is online categories. No doubt many of you have played categories before in the flesh, but did you know you can technically play it online as well, even over Zoom? What you're going to need to do as the host is encourage everyone else to go grab themselves a piece of paper and a pen. You could also ask them just to use their mobile phone, that's totally fine. They could just open up the notes section there. Then as the host, what you do is go onto Google, just simply type in online categories. The first option there is a weird name of a website, swellgarfo.com. Just click on that, and as you can see, you'll be given a little categories page. There's a letter at the top. The letter that I get is M. You might get a different letter. You can change that if you click the re-roll button. You'll also be given a time. That's 120 seconds, which is set as default. Again, you can adjust that to whatever time you want each round to be. And then a little play button, which you'll hit whenever you want the game to start. So go back to your group, share your screen so that they can see everything as well. And if you know the role of categories, you know pretty much all you're going to do is hit play here, and it's going to give you 10 different categories. Now what everyone has to do by themselves for, in this case, 120 seconds or 90 seconds or whatever you set the time to be, is quite simply answer all the questions and all these 10 scenarios using the letter M. So in this case, I'd have to come up with a computer program that begins with M, spicy food, diet food, kind of dance, word ending in N, and I have to fill out all 10 options inside the time allowed. At the end of the 120 seconds, everyone has to stop writing. It's really helpful at that point if you, as the host, take a picture of the screen just so you remember the 10 categories that you were asked to write on. After you've stopped sharing your screen, encourage everyone to go onto the chat function on Zoom, and you're going to go through each of the questions 1 to 10, and you're going to encourage everyone to submit their answer for each question at the same time. That's really, really important. So you're going to start by saying, okay, question 1, everyone had to type in a computer program beginning with the letter M. So encourage everyone to write out their answer in the chat box, but don't hit send. Then you count down 3, 2, 1, and everyone hits send at the same time. At that point, everyone who writes an answer that is legitimate, a computer program beginning with M, that no one else gets, they get a point. But if someone says the same computer program as someone else, then both of them get no points, okay? So for example, if 2 people say Microsoft, then they don't get any points. But if someone says something else beginning with M that no one else says that is legitimate, they get a point. Do the same for question 2, 3, 4, right through to 10, and then crown your winner as the person with the most points. Okay, game number 2 that you can play with your youth group is a game called SKRIBBL. Effectively, it's online Pictionary. This works best with a small group of people. I think the maximum you can actually use on this website is 8. So if you've got a youth group of 8 or a group of people of 8, a small group, that'll work well. If you have a bigger group, you can split everyone into breakout rooms and make sure there's no more than 8 people per breakout room, and you can play this as well. What you want to do is just type skribbl.io into your URL or search SKRIBBL on Google. It'll be the first option that comes up. What you want to do then is create a private room, and then everyone who joins this private room will be able to play as well. So it'll give you a little link. If you copy and paste that link into the chat box of your Zoom call, everyone who clicks on it will be able to enter your private room. From there, the on-screen instructions will make things pretty clear. Someone will be told to draw something. Once they start drawing it, everyone else in the room is able to guess what it is, and whoever guesses right will get a point, and whoever gets the most point at the end when everyone's drawn, or however many rounds you want to do, will be crowned the winner. The third game that you can play with your youth group on Zoom is called the Olympics. It's not really called the Olympics. I don't know what this is called, but the Olympics works well. Just go with it. This works well if you've got a big group. Also doesn't require you to visit any websites. It just requires you as the host to do a little bit of work beforehand. Pretty much this works well if you've got a big group, and then you divide them all into breakout rooms. How many young people you have per breakout room will dictate how many rounds you have in this particular game. So say you have 5 people per breakout room, then it probably works best if you have 5 rounds, okay? So if you've got 5 rounds in your game, that means you would need 5 challenges. So for example, your first challenge could be who can do the most press-ups. You can be more creative, that's a pretty boring one. Challenge 2 could be who can bring me an item from the kitchen the fastest. Challenge 3 can be who can hold their breath for the longest. Something like that. A total of 5 challenges if you've got 5 rounds. If you've got 10 rounds, because you get 10 people per breakout room, then you'll prepare 10 challenges. At the very start of the game, when everyone's together, you're not actually going to tell the young people the 5 challenges. You're just going to tell them one word for each challenge, and they don't know exactly what that challenge will be. So for challenge number 1, for example, which is how many press-ups can you do, you're not actually going to tell them that. You're just going to say, okay, number 1, the word is strong for challenge number 1. For challenge number 2, which is, say, finding an item from the kitchen and bring it to you the fastest, the word could be speed. Number 3, for holding your breath, the word could be endurance. So they pretty much go to their breakout rooms. If there's 5 of them, there's 5 words, and they have to nominate someone from each of their group who's going to represent their breakout room for each of those challenges. So they all come back from the breakout rooms, and you say, okay, number 1, the word was strong. Ask who all the nominees were from each breakout room, and then they're going to go head to head in the press-up challenge. And then whoever wins earns a point for their team. Then you go on to number 2, okay, the word was speed. Who are our nominees? They come forward and you tell them what the speed challenge is. It's whoever can bring me a saucepan from the kitchen the quickest. Ready, steady, go. So on and so forth until you've finished all your rounds, count up the points. Whichever breakout room has the most points are your winners. You can be as creative as you like with what the challenges are. That's game number 3. Game number 4 that you can play with your youth group is the game Balderdash. Again, this works better if you've got a smallish group of people. If you've got more than kind of 15 people, this one would be chaos. But Balderdash is a great game. What you need to do is, once again, go onto a website as the host. You will not particularly be playing, but you'll be hosting the game. Go onto the website randomword.com. As you go to this website, you'll be given a random word, but most people, I imagine, will not know the definition to. But it'll give you the word, and it'll also give you the definition of the word. What you're then going to do is go onto your Zoom meeting and copy and paste the big long word into the chat function so that everyone can see it. And then what you're going to encourage everyone to do is to come up with a definition for that word that they think is believable, okay? Once they come up with a definition of the word that they think is believable, they send it to you, the host, privately, okay? Make sure they send it to you privately so no one else can see it. After everyone has sent you their private definition of the word, you're going to copy and paste each of their responses along with the actual definition of the word and send it to everyone in the Zoom call. They're then going to vote for which one they think is the correct definition, and if they get the definition right, they get 2 points. If they get it wrong, they get no points, but you also get an extra point if anyone else votes for the definition that you made up. At the end of the game, you can play as many rounds as you want with different words. At the end of the game, count up who's got the most points and they are your winner. Okay, the 5th and final game you can play with your youth group is Heads Up. Heads Up's a game that you play on your phone usually. I'm sure many of you have seen the app, but for this purpose, playing it on Zoom, we're not going to use our phone. We're just going to do our own little creative spin in playing Heads Up. What you need to do is get your youth group, doesn't matter really how many there are, and you as the host are going to come up with a list of random words. If you can't think of any random words, go onto Google and type charades words and go onto a website like Hobbylark and it'll give you a lot of random words that you can use. What you're going to do is you're going to pick someone to go first, set a timer on the clock, say 1 minute, 2 minutes, however long you want. You're going to start by selecting the individual who's going up first, putting them in the waiting room, and then telling everyone else the word that you're going to act out. Then, once you've decided the word they're going to act out, bring the person who's up first back into the room from the waiting room, and then everyone else has to act out what the word is. And then see how quickly the first contestant up can guess the word that everyone's acting out. Once they've acted it out, again, put them in the waiting room, pick a new word, bring them back. Everyone has to act it out. See how many words they can correctly guess in the allotted time. 1 minute, 2 minutes, however long it is. However many they get is how many points they get. Then choose someone else and go through the game once more. So there you have it. Those are 5 creative games you can play with your youth group that don't include a table quiz. Maybe you've got another game that you like and have tried and tested with your youth group. Why not leave it in the comments below and allow others to benefit from it too. Have a good day.